Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And I got a very interesting email from Bill, who grew up in my part of the world, which was in Greytown in KwaZulu-Natal. And he writes as follows: Hi Scott, thank you for all you're trying to do. I appreciate your update and advice. This lockdown has given me time to look hard at what is going on around us worldwide, and some things have become evident to me. I'll run them by you and would appreciate feedback from you if you have the time. Back in 1988, I had a look at what was happening in Pinetown, KwaZulu-Natal, and did not like what I saw. This prompted me to buy a small holding in the Albert Falls area, about 20 kilometers outside of Pietermaritzburg. I made sure that this property had adequate water and was reasonably fertile. Having grown up on a farm outside Greytown, I had some idea of how a small holding could be used to generate a reasonable income. I was teaching electronics at this time and used the money I earned to develop a nursery and produce flower and vegetable seedlings for sale. The idea that my wife and I had was to be free of debt and to be self-sustainable. This was finally achieved in 2011. Basically, we are long-term preppers and are off the grid with our own electricity and water and land, but still have to generate income to pay the land tax, for which we get absolutely no benefit under this regime. Our world as we knew it is undergoing a dramatic change, and the biggest change is in the emergence of groups pushing their own ideas of how people must be controlled. Excessive government interference and ludicrous interest rates from the banks. There is far too much reliance on money that has no real value, as it is fiat money, with nothing of real value behind it, and has allowed too many people to make a good living by simply manipulating markets without actually producing anything. Too many people in our country reproduce irresponsibly and have children they cannot provide for in an ethical way. This burden becomes the responsibility of others and has been assumed and encouraged by our government with their child support program, placing an additional burden on the taxpayer. The policy of centralization does not work. The bureaucracy becomes too big and unwieldy, with too few ethical people supposedly working within it, and it is nearly impossible to get definitive and honest answers to problems that arise. I believe that the organization of governing an area would be better served with like-minded groups or committees electing their own representatives with clear directives from those groups on what the groups want. No appointed representatives who are not active members of the local community. Each community would have to take responsibility for their own security, health, transport and food. These representatives would get a living wage and no perks. Any transport would be the most economical and reliable vehicle suitable for the task, and these would be standardized across the country. As we have adequate internet, conferences would be via video conferencing, eliminating the necessity of costly transport and accommodation at bureaucratic level. The underlying principle being KISS, or keep it short and simple. Unfortunately, too many people are lazy and do not really think for themselves and are thus easily swayed and led by the nose. To be free is hard work. You need to be alert and examine what is happening around you, constantly. You also need to be prepared to do a lot of hard physical work yourself in an intelligent way. Build well for the future and ensure that it will last. It is too expensive in time and labor to do things twice or three times. Forward planning is essential, as we need to work towards making life simpler for ourselves as we get older. And part of that forward planning must be food security, having your own garden and being able to feed yourself and your own no matter what. A big problem for those living in over-regulated towns where there is no space for gardens and insane rules are applied to people's, and those rules are designed to relieve people of their hard-earned cash. Money as we know it was originally designed as a standard means of exchange for value and effort. With the advent of banks and fiat money, there is no true value to money, but it is a fantastic means of manipulating the population through greed and disguising the fact that anyone who needs and works towards making money is a slave to that money and is in fact controlled by those who own and manipulate that money. Education has for years been designed to produce workers to fit into the system that keep the rich manipulators in power. How many pupils do you know who have been taught to really do their own research and form their own conclusions? Very few, I bet. In fact, in most schools this is discouraged as it becomes too hard for educators to evaluate the results, especially if those results do not agree with the perceptions of the educators. Education in South Africa today provides a herd of sheep that are easily led and manipulated. This is self-evident after 25 years of ANC rule in the country. And the reason that minorities are so threatened today is because so many of them think out of the box and think for themselves. This is a very real threat to any bureaucracy comprising of people who believe in total control and have low IQs. Kings and royalty and the upper class had time to educate themselves and see what worked for them to ensure that their lives were comfortable and easy. They were also in a position to control the common herd and ensure that this situation continued. What we see today with the New World Order is simply a re-establishing of the old feudal system with enough SOPs given to the bureaucracy to make them feel okay and privileged enough to follow it. The common man will simply be a worker, and with so much automation, not many will be needed. People are lazy and not prepared to really work at safeguarding their rights, and as a result they will lose these rights. Governments have overreached themselves for years and been allowed to do so by their populations, and now consider their authority as absolute. Anyone who questions the authority is a threat to those in power and will be eliminated. By the way, Google the figures of worldwide deaths, births, and the number of Corona-19 deaths in comparison are insignificant statistically. A very convenient ploy to do a world check on the gullibility of populations, and definitely a manufactured virus if you look at who has been hardest hit. Seems to be the people who rely on processed foods are hit much harder than those who rely on basic and natural foods. Just a thought. Yes, I have read Agenda 21 and its extension Agenda 30, and to me this is feudalistic ruling globally. Remember, those who do not learn from history will relive it. Our biggest problem is lack of real communication due to poor education across the world. Individual thought and reasoning is sorely lacking in our school systems. And he concludes by saying, "Now I have had my rant and share it with you. I also thank you for what you are trying to do and wake up the people of the world. With some, I think you have succeeded, but most are just too lazy to think for themselves. God bless and keep yourself safe and well." Well, thank you, Bill. I'll put this one up for the record. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bells for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe.